Hi fashion lovers, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Blessing. Thank you so much for stopping by. If this is the first time you're coming across my YouTube channel, please do well to hit on the subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up. And for those of you my subscribers, thank you so much for coming back again. You are my real G. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys how I went about the cutting and the sewing of this beautiful long sleeve shirt. And if this is something you feel you're interested in, definitely keep on watching and let's get into the tutorial video. So guys, I have my fabric here, I have my ruler, my tape, my scissors, my chalk, and of course my measurement. So the first thing I'll be doing on the fabric is to fold the front first. So I'll be folding this fabric into two, just like the way you see me doing, and I will be marking the starting point at the upper part of the fabric, just like the way you see me doing. I was using my white chalk before, but because it's not going to be visible on this fabric, so I'll be using my blue chalk to remark it. Then after marking my starting point, the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to mark the button allowance. So I'll be marking 2.5 inches from this other end for the button allowance. So I'll be marking it from the top to the bottom. I was supposed to mark the length of the shirt first before proceeding to take the other measurement, but either ways you can still do it like this. For the body measurement, I added 2 inches for ease allowance and 0.5 inches for sewing allowance, and I'll be taking the measurement from the button allowance that I marked just now. So I guess you can understand. For example, if your body measurement is 40 inches, you add 2 inches to it, making it 42, and extra 0.5 inches to it, making it 42 and a half for sewing allowance and ease allowance. The reason why I'm doing that is for the shirt to be free on the body, because the shirt is not supposed to be tight. So I'm just taking the measurement from the button allowance and I'm marking it on the fabric just now. Then after doing that, the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to mark out the length of the shirt. The length of this person's shirt is 29 inches, and I'm adding extra 2 inches to it, making it 31 inches. I guess that makes sense. So after marking it, I'll just use my chalk and my ruler to make a straight line down there. Then I'll be cutting it out. So guys, after cutting it out, this is what the front part is looking like, and the next thing I will now go ahead to do is just to trim out this outer part of the fabric, the rough part of the fabric. So that's what I'm cutting out. The next thing I will now go ahead to do is to fold this 2.5 inches button allowance. So I'm just using my pin to mark it. I was supposed to use my iron, but there was no light at this moment while I was filming the tutorial. So I'm just pinning it out, and I will be folding my fabric to cut out the back. So I'll be placing the front on the back part and I'll be cutting it out. But before cutting it out, I'll be adding 4 inches to the length of the front part to cut out the back. Just watch the video, you will understand what I'm talking about. So guys, I kept the back part I just finished cutting aside, and I'm just going to be working on the front part. So there are two parts for the front, which is the left and the right. So the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to take my paper stay, and I'll be gumming it on the button allowance I marked. On the 2.5 inches line I marked, I'll be gumming it right there. The reason why I'm gumming my paper stay to that part is to give the shirt a little bit of structure. You can decide to leave yours like that, but I advise you to gum a paper stay to that part. Then after gumming my paper stay to it, I'll be folding it like this. I folded half an inch, and I'll be folding it by 1 inch again. So that is 1.5 inches. So the remaining 1 inch will be for the outer overlap. I guess that makes sense. So that is just the way you're going to be doing the two parts of the front shirt. After folding the button allowance, the next thing I went ahead to do is to take my hemming gum, and I'll be using the hemming gum to gum that part I folded down. So I'm just sprinkling some water on it to make it steam, because this iron is not a steaming iron. So it is totally optional. If you don't have a hemming gum, you can just decide to sew yours like that. So I've done it for the two parts of the front, and you can see how it is looking already. And I'm just placing it on the back piece of the shirt, just like the way you see me doing, and I'm making sure that everything everything is aligned properly. You can see that the back part and the front part. So I'm just going to pick the one that is equal at the upper part, and I'm marking 2.5 inches at this end of the shirt, and I'll be using that 2.5 inches to connect a slanted line into the other part. I guess that makes sense. So this 2.5 inches slanted line I'm marking is for the shoulder slant, and I'm just going to be using my scissors to cut it out. Then after cutting it out, I'll be dragging the front part of the shirt down to meet the length of the back. I guess you can understand. So guys, after doing all of that, the next thing I went ahead to do is to drag the front piece of the shirt outwards like so, and the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to mark 0.4 inches at the shoulder slope of the front piece. I guess you can see what I'm doing. Then after marking 0.4 inches with my chalk and ruler, I'll be overlapping the back of the shirt on top the 0.4 inches I just finished marking. Then I'll go ahead and use my iron to press it down. So after doing that, the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to mark out the half shoulder measurement. If your half shoulder measurement is 20 inches, that means half of it will be 10 inches. So I'm just using that mark to rule a straight line downwards. Then I'll be marking my armhole measurement on that line, and I'll be using it to make an horizontal straight line. So from that horizontal straight line, I'll be taking my round body measurement plus the allowance and the ease allowance and the sewing allowance. Do you understand? So after doing that, I'm just dividing the armhole measurement by 2, and I went in by ½ inches, and I'll be connecting the 3 dots together, just like the way you see me doing in the video. I feel like the video is self-explanatory if you watch what I'm doing. So after marking the armhole curve, the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to drag the shirt upwards, and from the down part of the shirt I'm marking 5 inches upwards, and I'm using that 5 inches to make a curve line down. The reason why I'm making a curve line down is because the shirt is not going to be straight at the down part. Then the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to mark out the neck width and the neck depth. For the neck width, I took 2.5 inches, and for the neck depth, I took 4 inches, and I'll be using it to make a curved line, a round neckline. Then after doing that, I'll just use my scissors to cut out all the marks that I've done on the shirt. As you can see guys, the shirt is already coming up little by little, and I'm just going to keep the front piece aside for now and work on the back. So for the back piece, I'm going to be taking 9 inches from the shoulder downwards, and I'll be using that 9 inches to make an horizontal straight line, and I'll also be cutting through that 9 inches line I just finished marking. So I'll be taking the smaller piece of the shirt I finished cutting, and I'll be using it to cut out another piece, which is going to be for the back cape of the shirt. After cutting the two back capes, the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to notch the centers, and I'll also be notching the center of the bigger part. So I'll be placing the bigger part on the table like this. I'll be facing the right side up, and I'll be placing the one that I cut out from the bigger part of the shirt. I'll be placing it right side facing the right side. Then the other one that I cut out as a lining piece will be the one at the wrong side of the main back fabric. I guess you can understand. If you watch the video, you understand what I'm trying to explain. So I'll just be pinning it at the notch center part, and I'll be taking it to my sewing machine, and I'll be stitching it from the center to the other end, and I'll flip it over again and sew it from the center to the other end. So guys, after joining the three pieces together, I'll then take it to my ironing table and press it down. So I want you guys to put in mind that whenever you are sewing a male outfit, you need to iron and iron and iron, because when you don't iron, everything is not just going to come out nice. When you're sewing a female outfit also, you need to iron as well. So guys, the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to bring out the front piece and placing it on it like this, just like the way you see me doing, and I'll be joining it, and I'll be using the other back cape to cover it, just like the way you see me doing in the video. I don't know how else to explain it, but the video is actually explaining itself. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll just be joining it at the shoulder parts, just like the way I explained earlier. So I'll be doing it again on the sewing machine for you guys to see how I'm going to be joining. So I'm just using one of the back cape to cover up everything like this. Then I'll just go ahead to stitch it down with my sewing machine. So at the end of the day, when I open it, everything is just going to be neat at the inside and at the outside. So I'll just repeat the same process for the other parts of the shoulder as well, and there we have our front and back piece joined together. After I was done joining the two shoulder parts together, so I took it to my ironing table and I'm just going to place it like this, making sure that everything is aligning, especially the armpit area, and making sure that it is on the same part. So I've just gone ahead to iron it, and I'm just notching the two shoulder parts just like the way you see me doing, and I'll just go ahead to use my measuring tape to measure what I have at the armhole area. So whatever I get on the armhole area is the measurement I'll be using to cut out the width of the sleeve. So the measurement I got on the armhole is what I'm using to fold this fabric like this. Now the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to just mark the length of the sleeve. Remember, this shirt is a long sleeve shirt, so it's going to be having a band at the wrist. So the band length is going to be 3 inches, and normally the sleeve length of this person is 25 inches. So I'll be taking away 3 inches from that 25, which will be making it 22. So I'm just adding extra 1 inch to that 22 inches, making it 23 inches. I guess you can understand. So I'm marking 23 inches right here, and I'll just be using the mark to make a straight horizontal line before cutting it out. So guys, this is what I have after cutting the two pieces out. So I'm just retaking the measurement to be sure of what I have right there. Now the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to come down from the top of the sleeve by 5 inches. So I came down by 5 inches for the sleeve cap, and I'll be using that 5 inches to make an horizontal straight line, just like the way you see me doing. Then after making the line, I'll be coming in from the center of the sleeve again by 5 inches as well. Then I'm just going to locate the center of these 5 inches that I just marked recently. I'm just going to connect the 3 dots that I'm trying to explain in the video. I'm connecting it together like an S, just like the way you see me doing in the video. Then the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to use my tape to measure the line that I just made. So I measured it and I was satisfied with the measurement I got there. Now the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to place my tape from the upper part of the sleeve, and I'll come down by 11 inches. 11 inches is the arm measurement of this person. So I'll be marking the round arm measurement, which is 16 inches. Divided by 2, I have 8 inches. Then I added 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I came down to the wrist of the shirt and to the sleeve as well, and I marked the round sleeve measurement plus 2 inches sewing allowance. 1 inch is going to go for pleating and the other 1 inch for stitching allowance. I guess you can understand. So I'm just connecting the lines together like this, and I'll be cutting it out. So guys, after I was done cutting it out, I just went ahead to iron it, and that's why it's looking so smooth like this. Then the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to measure the round sleeve measurement. The round wrist measurement of this person is 10 inches. So I'll be marking the half measurement of 10 inches, which is 5 inches. So I'm marking 5 inches right here, and the half measurement of 5 inches is 2.5. So I'll be marking 2.5. So I'm placing my tape at the center of the sleeve, and I'm marking 2.5 at the upper part as well, just like the way you see me doing. So I'll be coming up by 4 inches from the sleeve length. So I'll be coming up by 4 inches, and I'll be using my ruler to connect the 2.5 inches line that I marked earlier. So the reason why I'm marking this is because I want to make a slit right there, and that is where the cuffling is going to be. So guys, I'm just separating the two sleeves like this, and I'll take the other one that is down and open it just like the way you see me doing. Then I'll go ahead and place the second sleeve that I marked the 2.5 inches on. So I'm just placing it on it like this, and I'll make sure that everything is equal, just like the way you see me doing. So I'll just use my scissors to cut out the slits that I want to cut out. So I'm cutting the both sleeve slits together, just like the way you see me doing. Now the reason why I did this is because I want to be able to differentiate the right hand sleeve from the left hand sleeve. So after making the slits, I'll just fold it and keep it aside before proceeding to cut out the band. So this is my gum stay right here. I'm using my gum stay because I don't have a collar stay. I'm supposed to use a collar stay for this part. So the very first thing I'll be doing on the gum stay is to mark out the round wrist measurement and also the width of the band. So the round wrist measurement is 10.5 inches, 10 inches, but I'm adding 0.5 inches to it in case I want to trim out some part of the gum stay. And I'll be also marking 3.5 inches for the width of the band. Normally it's supposed to be 3 inches, but because of balancing and all of that, and to also be on the safer side, I'm just marking 3.5 inches. So it's going to be 10.5 by 3.5. I guess you can understand. So I'll be using it to make lines, and I'll be cutting it out just like the way you see me doing. So guys, I want you to bear in mind that we'll be cutting out two pieces of this band, because one will be for the right hand side and the other one will be for the left hand side. So as you can see guys, I'm just cutting it out, and this is the two bands here, and I'll be folding it together, and I'll make sure I balance everything to make the measurement accurate. I'll make sure the circumference is 10 inches and the width is 3 inches, just like the way you see me doing in the video. Then after doing that, I'll be giving a sort of curve at the edge of the band, just like the way you see me doing in the video. If you watch the video, you understand what I'm trying to explain. Having done that, the next thing I'll now be doing is to cut out two fabrics to gum the band on, just like the way you see me doing in the video. So I'll be gumming a little part at the down part of the band, just like the way you see me doing, and I'll make sure the other side, when I'm turning it over, is longer than that part that I used to gum the band. I don't know how else to explain it honestly, but I feel like if you watch what I'm doing, you will understand what I'm trying to explain. So I'll just do it for this part first, and I'll repeat the same process for the other side. If you watch closely guys, I'm using my hemming gum to gum that part I explained earlier. So if you don't have hemming gum, it is totally fine. You can just leave it like that if you can manipulate the fabric. So the next thing you will now go ahead to do is to fold it over like this, making sure that the other part is longer than the part where you folded the hemming gum together with the band. I guess you can understand, because I don't even know how I can explain this tutorial, like this part. I don't know how else I can explain it, but I feel like if you watch what I'm doing, you'll understand what I'm trying to explain. So I've gone ahead to stitch it down on my sewing machine. I'm just trimming out the excess part, and I'll be turning it over, and I'll use my iron to press it down to make it flat. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut out the sleeve blanket, which you can see here. So the width is 1.5 inches and the length is 8 inches. Then I'll just go ahead to gum it on a plain fabric, just like the way you see me doing, making sure to leave space at both sides and at the top and the bottom. Then the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to gum the fabric on the gum stay on one side of the gum stay. So I'm using my hemming gum to gum it together with the gum stay. If you don't have hemming gum, you can leave it like that. It's totally fine. So the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to fold it again, just like the way you see me doing in the video, and I'll be cutting out the excess part at the up and the bottom part. part, making sure that I'm not cutting closer to the gum stay. I guess you can understand. Then I'm just going to be trimming out the excess fabric, and I'm just leaving small space for the sewing. So this is just the way you're going to do it. So for the smaller blanket, I've gone ahead to fold one, and I'm explaining what I did for the other part. So the width of this blanket is 2.5 inches and the length is 6 inches, in case you are wondering the measurements I took there. So I'm just folding one end like this, and I'll be using my water to steam it down because I don't have a steaming iron. So this is just the way I'll be doing it. I folded it one and I folded it again, so I'll be leaving another little space for sewing. So this is just the way you're going to fold the smaller blanket, and I'm just going to be taking everything to my sewing machine, including the sleeve. I'll be taking everything to my sewing machine to start the sewing. Don't worry guys, we're going to sew it together, so you don't need to bother. So guys, I have my sleeve here, and I'm just going to be explaining what I'll be doing before taking it to the sewing machine. So the smaller blanket belongs to the smaller part of the sleeve, and the bigger blanket belongs to the bigger part of the sleeve. I guess that makes sense. So I'll be taking it to my sewing machine like this, and you can see how I am going to be stitching it. I'll stitch the smaller part on the wrong side of the sleeve. You can see I'm stitching it on the wrong side. Then when I get to that 4 inches, I'll sew it above that 4 inches a little bit before notching it. Then I'm just going to turn it to the right side like this. Can you see how I'm doing it? And I'm just going to be having a neat finishing at the inside and at the outside. So after stitching it down, I'm just going to be trimming it a little bit, so it's not just going to be too bulky when I'm adding the bigger blanket on the bigger side. So I'm just going to be doing it just like the way you see me doing in the video. I guess you can understand what I'm trying to explain. I feel like the video is already getting too long, but it is well detailed as well if you follow what I'm doing step by step. So after joining the smaller blanket, you can see how it is looking at the back. I'll be joining the bigger one on it just like this. So you can see the way I'm joining it, and I'm just trimming the one that is going to be at the down part, like on the wrists. I'm trimming it to the gum stay. I'm trimming it exactly on the gum stay. So, and I'm just leaving the upper part because I'll be doing some folding by the time I turn it to the right side. So I'm just going to join it like this, and I'll turn it to the front side, and I'm just going to be using the bigger one to cover the smaller blanket. So guys, I've gone ahead to join it, and this is what it is looking like at the inside and at the outside. You can see how neat it is. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to place my sleeve on this, and I'll be taking the measurement I have on the wrist right here. I have about 13 inches, and I'll be using 2 inches for the plating, and I'll be leaving 11 inches because I'll be using 1 inch for sewing allowance, and 10 inches will be for the round sleeve, just like I said earlier. So I'm using my iron to press it down, and I'm taking it to my sewing machine to stitch the part I ironed. And I'll also be stitching this open part where the blanket is. I'll be stitching it together, but I'm still going to open it. I'm just stitching it down for me to take the accurate measurement of the round sleeve. I don't have my office pin with me. If I have my office pin, I would have used my office pin. So I'm just stitching it down, and I'm just going to be closing the sleeve like this. So I'll take my band first, and I'll measure what I have on the band. It is the band measurement that will determine what you are going to measure on the sleeve. So I took my band measurement and I divided it by 2, and the measurement I had there, I placed it on the sleeve, and I'll be using it to stitch it down. So I'm not going to stitch the sleeve to the end. I'm going to stop halfway because I've not attached it to the shirt. So I'm just going to stop right there and stitch it. So the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is to attach the band to the sleeve itself. But before that, I'll be losing the parts that I joined together on the blanket. Like I said earlier, that I'm still going to lose it. So I'm just going to attach the band to the sleeve, but I'll be starting from the wrong side of the sleeve. Don't make the mistake of starting from the right side, because if you start from the right side, it will be looking awkward at the right side of the sleeve. So I'm starting from the wrong side of the sleeve, and I'll be stitching it down to the end of the blanket, and I'm just going to turn it over and stitch it at the right side. So that is just the way to sew your long sleeve shirt for men. So guys, the two sleeves of the shirt is ready, and this is what we have here. Now I'll just go ahead to join it to the shirt, making sure the two plankets is facing the back of the shirt. So guys, after joining the two sleeves to the body of the shirt, the next thing I will now go ahead to do is to measure what I have on the neck. So I'm measuring it right now, and I have about 19.5 inches right there, but I'll be using 20 inches to cut on the collar in case I need to do some trimmings. So this is my collar stay. It's not a collar stay, it's a gum stay, but I'm just using it to represent a collar stay. So the width of the collar stay, the width of the collar is going to be 3 inches, and the length is 20 inches like I said earlier. So I'm just cutting by 3 and 20. So I guess you can understand. So I'm just cutting it out, and I'll be measuring 1.2 inches from the down part of the collar, and I'll use that 1.2 inches to make an horizontal straight line. Then after making an horizontal straight line, I'll fold the collar into two to locate the midpoint, and I'm just going to be coming down by 0.3 inches from the midpoint and connect that point to the end, just like the way you see me doing with a slanted line. So I'm just coming in by 1.2 inches on this part as well, and I'm just going to make a straight line right there and curve the smaller parts just like the way you see me doing. Then I'm just going to be cutting all the lines that I have on this collar. So after cutting everything out, I'm just going to be taking it to my fabric and I'll be gumming it on it. I'll be cutting out two pieces for each. That's 4 pieces. So as you can see guys, I've gone ahead to cut it, and for the bigger part of the collar, I'm just going to go ahead and join the 2 pieces together first. Then after joining it, I'll bring it to my ironing table and iron it. And for the smaller one, you can see how I am gumming some extra fabric to the down parts. If you watch closely, you understand what I'm trying to explain. So I've gone ahead to join the bigger part of the collar, and I'm just trimming out the excess fabric at the tip, and I'm also notching the edge of the collar before turning it inside out. And after turning it inside out, I'll just go ahead to iron it before joining the 2 pieces together. So guys, after pressing with my pressing iron, the next thing I went ahead to do is to trim the down part of the bigger collar. Then I'm just folding it into 2, and I'm notching the middle part of the bigger part of the collar. I guess that makes sense. So the next thing I'll now go ahead to do is also to fold the smaller parts into 2 and notch the mid part. So I'm just going to notch the mid part of everything, and I'll take it to my sewing machine and start the sewing from the middle to the end, then from the middle again to the end. So guys, can you see what I have? I've gone ahead to join it, and this is what it is looking like. So I didn't sew that curved part because I want to do some top stitching. So I'm just going to take it to my sewing machine right now, and I will go and sew the curved part of the collar. I guess you can understand. Then after doing that, I brought it back again, and I'm trimming the excess of the middle part in order to make it flat and not bulky. So this is what I have here, and I'm just going to be using my iron to press it down. So guys, this is what I have here, and this is what the collar is looking like, and I'm just going ahead to trim out some excess parts, but I'm not trimming everything. So I'm folding the collar into 2, and I notch the center, and I'm just going to bring the shirt right here, and I'll notch the center of the neck. So I'm just going to be placing the center of the collar on the center of the neck of the shirt. Then I'll start from the center and sew to the end, and start from the center again and sew to the other end. I guess you can understand. So that is just the way you're going to attach your collar to the shirt. So guys, you've actually come to the end of this video. So after joining the collar to the shirt, the next thing we're just going to go ahead to do is to fold the hem of the shirt and do the buttonhole and fix the button, and that is all for the making of this long sleeve shirt. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. Please, if you've learned something so far, please do well to hit on the subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also do well to give this video a thumbs up so that it's going to boost the algorithm of this video, and also do well to share and give nice comments below. Thank you so much for watching guys. I will see you in my next one. Bye.